Hi, everybody. Welcome back to The Rising. Today, we're going to be talking about frequency and how to align with what you really want and to raise your vibration.
I'm so excited for this. I grew up in a very religious house, and I actually say that in I don't even really like using the word religious because it sounds so like rule oriented. I had a great spiritual upbringing, but this was something that we didn't really talk about, even though it's so in alignment with what I believe. So I've really haven't understood frequencies, and even though it's like there's power in your words. And I grew up in a faith home like that where we were such faith-oriented people, well, don't say you're sick, say you're healed, so I grew up with this frequency concept, but we weren't calling it that. And so I'm so excited to jump in and learn about this.
Well, it's just a different way of saying it, really. It's raising your vibration, raising your frequency, elevating your words, right? So the way I look at frequency is, what are you broadcasting out into the world? And are you vibrating at a high frequency? Because if you are, then you're going to be attracting only things that align with that high vibration.
Explain that a little bit, because when I first heard the term high frequency, I didn't realize it literally meant a high frequency. So can you explain to our listeners the different types of frequency, what it means to have a high frequency versus a low one? Explain that.
Well, we all have an energetic system, and every day the challenge is to elevate it. And one way, which you found in your household, right, was by using words that vibrate positivity, right? Vibrate a higher energy. And all of these things we have to focus on daily. Because if you think about it, when you go into the outside world, it can bring you down at times. So you have to stay in an elevated state throughout your day and call in things that make you feel good, because oftentimes the world is not always friendly. So as long as we can protect our energetic state, that helps us move throughout our day. So I hope that makes sense.
Totally. When you talk about this, it's hard to not think about music. It's like, when you play sports and you're ready for a game and you're listening to high energy music, or when you want to calm down, you put on maybe some slow jazz. Or is this the same concept? It is, right? The level of the frequency determines how you feel, kind of.
It does. And you have to be careful, because there are certain elements in music, different frequencies that can elevate your state or bring it down. So you have to be mindful of what you're listening to, because very quickly it could turn. You basically set your frequency the minute you wake up. And if you wake up earlier, the better. So for me, I love music, but I have to be mindful of what I initially put into my headphones. So it has to be music that is elevating me for the day. And it's my routine, and I dance around the kitchen, I make my coffee, and I put myself into a really good high state just initially in my house, because I know the minute that I drive off, the world around me will bring me down, if you think about it, because we're facing stress, we're facing traffic. We live in Los Angeles or just in a big city. We're facing things that pop up throughout the day, things that were unexpected. And at any point, life will throw something at you. But I think that if you set yourself up in the morning from that highly energetic state, you can pretty much stay there. And music does have a big impact on that. So I'm not going to listen to my moody, sad music. If I'm grieving or I'm going through something, that's the time for that. But for the most part, you really want to set your day up with music that is elevating you and making you feel empowered, making you feel good.
So you're not waking up and instantly checking the news or scrolling social media?
No, I try not to.
Because I could see how that could really do the opposite of what you just
does.
described. At least that's what it does to me.
Everybody has to have a practice in the morning that works to elevate and energize them, I think. And I don't believe immediately going to our news feed is the best way to start that. I highly believe in gratitude. So the first thing I do is the minute my feet hit the ground, I'm just thankful that I get to live another day on this earth. So already I'm going in with the frequency of gratitude. And then let's say I go into, my bathroom and I'm washing my face. I already have my headphones on and I'm doing my morning routines and I'm like washing away, like, let's say, any negativity from the day before. And I'm energizing myself with good stuff that I'm putting into my skin. Again, listening to the music that is really inspiring me, elevating me, gassing me up, if you will, making me feel empowered. I sometimes will also turn on affirmations. So I'm just listening to a woman talking in my head saying, I am abundant. I am lucky. I am, everything's working out for me. And that all really does boost your energy. Make my coffee. Like I said, I love to dance. So I dance around the kitchen. I then get to a place of journaling. Again, sometimes it's writing a letter to myself. Sometimes it's just writing 5 things I'm grateful for. But all of these things just help me stay in a really good, elevated state. I believe that you set the frequency in your home. So if you're coming from a really high vibrational state, it's going to impact those around you. And not by force. It's just that you're embodying a new way of being or you're accessing that. So the people around you in your home will automatically feed off your energy. And that's just you not doing much in terms of a forceful, push. Like, hey, let's all get happy. That's not what you're doing. What you're doing is you're focused on yourself, your frequency that exudes now onto those around you in an indirect way or unforceful way. And then that sets the tone for everybody on their day. And I believe it highly impacts my children and their school. If they're going into a high vibrational state, it's going to impact those they interact with throughout the day. That it's a ripple effect. So, but again, it all starts in the home. So if we can really focus on the frequency in our home, that in turn will help as we interact with others in our daily life.
That's awesome. When you received this understanding of frequency, how did your life change? Like, what were some things that you noticed be different about your life?
That external forces don't control me. I control myself. I think oftentimes we're waiting to feel good. So we're waiting for something to happen in order for us to access a higher frequency or an elevated state of emotion. But it's actually the opposite. You have to feel into the emotion first and then watch things around you change.
That is a word for me and someone. That is so good. You said we spend too much time waiting for good things to happen to us, and we're in control.
Right. I think for a long time, I know I operated this way. I thought my reality had to look a certain way in order for me to be really happy or experience joy. And then I realized, no, my life can look like a big mess, which oftentimes it does. It's chaotic. It's not perfect, but there's no reason why I can't feel good about my life and I can't feel joy and I can't feel other elevated states of emotion. So that is really what changed for me. Once I really started to realize that I had more control, I was like, well, I can just decide today to feel abundant. I could just decide today to feel healthy. I could just decide today to feel joy for all of it. And that's what we have to do. We have to kind of go through our life really focused on our frequency and feeling okay in elevated states. But this is what it comes down to, I think, with why I connect so much to the word rising, because every day or even throughout our life, think about it, life is a series of falling and getting up again and rising to our, better self, really. And definitely focusing on staying in an elevated state of emotion is really what's going to catapult you to have a more beautiful life. So I really believe in frequency. I really believe in vibration. I know these are terms that are a more spiritual, but I think that a lot of us can get behind it. And we need to. We need to, because our life depends on it. We can't sit with our instinctual survival emotions of fear, anxiety, and worry. We can't sit there. We just can't. And I don't believe it's a fake it till you make it necessarily. I think it's you really have to feel into certain emotions. Allow yourself to feel into them. and stay in emotions that elicit positivity. I would say 3 easy ways to raise your frequency would be to wake up and immediately say thank you. Immediately wake up from a state of gratitude, because I believe that gratitude sets the day. Being grateful that your eyes are awake, you get to live another day on this earth, that you're alive. I think that that is so crucial. The second is really, and this goes back to my I principle in the rise, intention. How do you want to feel today? I intend to feel peace, or I intend to feel joy, or I intend to help others today. Like, what is your intention for the day? Because now you're walking around with a purpose. And so that elevates your frequency, because you're like, I'm here on this earth to feel this, to do this. I have purpose. So I think that's another great way. And 3, I mean, really, it's about you staying connected to yourself. And a great way in the morning is really just to write down like your feelings, write down a reflection, get a book, open it, see if you can get a quote that inspires you, like something that you can latch onto in your day. That's always helpful. An inspiring quote, an inspiring piece of music that you're just like, is going to jazz you up for the day. Like anything, any of those 3, I think you could easily do. If you want to do more, you could do more. But for now, I think those 3 are great.
Awesome. What advice would you give to eliminate low frequencies around you? Like, what are some examples of things that are in our lives that maybe we don't notice that we should kind of just get rid of?
So I think it's important to protect your frequency. I always call it, actually, I usually say it's important to fence off your frequency. So if you know you're doing everything in your power to raise your frequency, you now want to protect it. And it's interesting, in the spiritual community, they say protect yourself with like a golden light. Imagine yourself wrapping your entire body with like a golden light, a white light, whatever color works for you. But I think if you can go throughout your day and going, okay, any interaction that I have, it's going to deflect off me. It will not penetrate my system. So it's very important to protect it. And also, there are certain things you might need to avoid. If you're like, I need to put my phone on do not disturb, which I do half the day, then I have to do that, because there's certain phone calls I can't take on because I know that they're going to disrupt my energy. Or I know there's a certain interaction I may not want to schedule for that day because I know it'll rattle me in a way. So I think there are things that we cannot avoid, that's for sure. But I think that we can do our best to really protect our energy and pick and choose, like when we're going into situations, how you want to feel, and going, whatever happens here, it's not going to disrupt my elevated state of emotion. I want you to feel that you have power over your emotions. You don't have to wait for something to change externally for you to feel good and align with an elevated frequency. So I want you to know that you have the power every day to choose how you want to feel, and it's all within you. Thank you, everybody, for joining me on this episode. And I hope that every day you focus on your frequency and elevating it to a higher place.